This right here is my 2021 Yamaha Wolverine RMAX XTR 4-seater that I just bought not too long ago. Took it on a couple trips. I like a lot of things about this machine. However, there is some downfalls to it, I think. We'll start with the things I do like. The things I do like about this, for being a 4-seater, this thing's pretty short. Wheelbase is not very long, which means it can fit through a lot more trails that we have around here. And I really like the fact about that. The one downfall to that is I thought it would ride kind of rough, but I'm telling you what, this thing actually rides really good. These have the Fox shocks with the 3 adjusters. You have soft, medium, and hard. This thing, the previous owner, I bought this used. The previous owner set all 4 to soft, and I tried running it like that. For the way I ride around here with the family in it, I bought this for the family rig. We ride slow, so on soft, this thing is just, it floats right over stuff. It rides really nice. The downfall to it is you get it on a road and you take a sharp corner. It does have a lot more body roll when it's set to soft, but I'd rather have the ride and a little bit of body roll, and that's fine with me. She's a little on the dirty side right now. This thing was super clean when I first bought it, but we just got done a ride. I gotta go clean her off, but I really like the interior of this thing. Very nice. I like the gauge. It's got a nice gauge. This one's pretty basic, but it's nice to have it right in front of you. And then you get the Adventure Pro, which the XTR and the Limited come with this. So you got GPS, you got all kinds of stuff on there. So that's handy. I like that you have a park and brake. I wished it had a park in the transmission, but it is what it is. Actually, so how many miles did I put on this so far? So we did like 3 decent sized trips. I bought this with 1,270 miles and it's got 1,477 miles. So we put about 200 miles on this. One thing I gotta do, I checked the oil. Oil was good and it looked pretty clean, but I do want to change the oil in it. So we're gonna do that here shortly. But my biggest complaint about this thing, and it's not gonna be a complaint for everybody because some people won't care, but it's the noise, the in-cab noise. It's pretty noisy in here. If you get inside, start it up, idle it, it's decent, it's pretty quiet. It's when you're going down the road at 30, 40 miles an hour, the engine is really screaming on this. So hopefully we can do something about that today. Being outside of this thing, listening to the exhaust and everything, it's fairly quiet. Like, I'll fire it up right now and you can hear it. So, in-cab noise, tell it's a little louder than out here, but it's not bad idling. Exhaust, it sounds decent. It's not overly loud. Something moving around in there. But when you're driving, it's definitely a little bit noisy. And I'll show you what I mean here in a minute. And then when I was looking at this, I knew I was going in to a machine that's gonna be kind of noisy. We were looking at a Polaris General, a lot quieter, but the deal of this one came up and we snagged it. I like the machine, I like everything about it other than that. Some people said it gets hot in here. I mean, we were riding in like 90-degree weather and it wasn't that bad. Back here, you definitely feel a little heat off of this when you're riding in those temps, but not too bad. So from what I see online, a lot of people recommending going to a heavier weight in the primary clutch from Weller Racing. That's what I did. About the 23-gram weights. They are, I think it was like $115 or so for the set. So we're gonna install those, see how that does. What that's gonna do is drop the RPM down at speed, so 30, 40 miles an hour. If we're running, I don't know, we'll go check it, but if we're running like 6,000 RPMs, it should drop it down to, I don't know how many RPMs, but say it drops it down to 54, 5,500, I don't know. We'll figure it out, but hopefully that solves a lot of the problem. I'm gonna insulate as well, but I'm a big believer in trying one thing and then seeing how the results are, and then we'll go from there. I'll see the difference in the noise on this. Now this is not gonna change the noise level, it's just gonna change the noise level at speed. So the faster you go, the louder it's gonna get, obviously, which is fine with me. So let's go swap out those weights and see how it does. Now, like I said, it's noisy for me and the family. Like when you're driving 30, 40 miles an hour down the road, you cannot talk to each other without screaming. And even if you're screaming, it's still pretty hard to hear. If you're hammering down 50 miles an hour, whatever, you're focusing on the road anyways, you're not talking to each other. but that 30-40 miles an hour would be nice to talk, because we have a lot of trails around here, but sometimes you got to take roads to get to them. Sometimes you got to go quite a few miles to get to the trails. So it'd be nice to cut down that noise. Other than that, I love this machine. I'm really enjoying it so far, and the noise is not a deal breaker for me. I'm not selling this because of the noise, that's for sure. We'll go get those weights in and see the change. We'll go ahead and do a before test, see how loud it is, and then once we get it finished, go ahead and do another video to see if it's made a difference. So I have a sound meter here, a dB meter, so we'll check it with that. You can see it's spiking when I talk. Around 30 with no noise. Start it up. So I run this in trail most of the time, so I'm going to do trail on both tests to make sure it's even testing. And we'll run her up to like 30, about 40 miles an hour, because that's most of my cruising speed on the roads. That's where this thing is really loud. Obviously it gets louder when you hammer on it, but I'm not concerned about that, because when you're hammering on it, you don't really care about noise levels anyways. So I'm gonna check the RPMs at the speed, we'll get that, and we'll get the noise meter. So just idling here, you can see if I stop talking, it's around 75. And then, how is it in the back here? About the same. High range. Let's see what we get. See, this isn't too bad. Right there, it's getting a little loud, 97. Yeah, we're pushing almost 100. There it is, 100 dB, 100 decibels. We're only doing 30 miles an hour. 28 on the GPS, we're looking at 5750 and about 100. 99 to 100. Go ahead and turn this around and we'll do 40 and see what she is running at that speed. Obviously a little noisy in here. I'm not sure how the mic's gonna pick this up. Hopefully it does. But it's noisy at speed. Now if you're wearing a... I better wait to talk, just in case. See, sitting here idling, it's not bad. Now if you're wearing a full face helmet, it's not too bad, but I don't wear full face helmets unless I get the GoPro strapped to me. Vermont does require helmets on the trails, so I do wear like a little half bucket thing. It's a little cooler, but it does not do anything for your hearing, so hopefully we can quiet it down. Alright, once we get all the plastics out of the way, we can start removing the ductwork for the CVT. Then we can pull that clutch cover off. Should be enough to be able to loosen her up. Slide it on off of there. And just like so. Got this one. That's already loose. Huh. It's a little strange. Allen head on the bottom. 4mm. There's that. Start by removing all these 10 millimeters around that clutch cover. Usually I'll leave one on the top, that way it's easier to remove, and this thing stays pretty steady until you remove that last one. Bottom ones you can't really see, you just kind of got to go by feel. Tension with a swivel makes it a lot easier. This is definitely not a job you'd want to do on the side of a trail. That one was a little tricky to get. Alright, I believe they're all done except this top one. And now we got an easy one. Beautiful. Hopefully. We'll see. A little sticky, but yes, that's all of them. And am I going to have to remove this seat belt? Kind of looks like it. Come out of there. Be able to rotate it enough to remove the cover here. There she be. Holding this cover on, there's 4 10 millimeters. There's 1 and 4. Alright. Now this can be removed. Oh, our little spacer fell out. We don't want to forget that. Just like that. Now this whole half can slide right out. Go ahead, I'll pull this off just so it's easier to set flat. Start by removing all these bolts, these little screws. You want to make sure you use a good Phillips head because you don't want to strip these out. If you do, I'd replace them because they'll be very hard to get off next time. I've done quite a few of these on the Yamaha Grizzlies and Kodiaks. Same clutch setup. They have the greased weights in there. So now this, sometimes these can stick, but they want to pull right up. Shouldn't really matter where you put this clutch cover back on, but I like to mark it so I know I'm putting it back on the same exact spot I took it off. I do that with all my clutches. Like I said, it probably doesn't matter with these. I'm gonna do it anyways. There's kind of a lip there. You don't want to damage the clutch, but if you just kind of separate it, go all the way around that way. There we go. Okay. So we can see, you can see all the grease in here. It's kind of hardened up a little bit. It's definitely turned colors. Shouldn't be black. The original grease that goes on there is it's Yamaha Ultramatic grease, and it's like a tannish color. I'll show you in a second. Mark on there. Onto this one. Move that. Whoop. There goes a weight. Kind of a messy job to do this because you're gonna get very greasy. So we'll check these weights for flat spots. Doesn't matter, we're replacing them anyways. I just want to see what they look like after 1,300 miles of riding. No flat spots at all. These things are in very good shape still. It almost looked it, how they're sitting right there. You can kind of see what looks to be a flat spot, but it's just where this was sitting on it. Doesn't mean they're all like that, but so far, same thing. That's a very good weight. I would definitely reuse these if I didn't have the heavier weights going in, but I'm hoping we can lower the RPM. Clean out, actually you can kind of see what the original grease looked like. It's in the bottom of there, that yellow. That's what it should look like when it's new. But just over time, the heat, the dust, it all discolors this. If you get mud in there, you can see there is some, not much, but a little bit of like dried on stuff. Now you go through mud and get mud in here. I've seen four-wheelers that this stuff, you gotta like chisel it out. It's almost like cement. This is getting pretty hard on the ends actually, so definitely a good time to clean her all out. A lot of shop rags. Like I said, you go through a lot of shop rags. Try to peel as much as I can out with a screwdriver. Way I don't waste as many, but... And of course we'll want to clean all the grease off these slides. Check the condition of them. Cleaning this, you want to check for excess wear right here. These look nice. There's no grooves or anything. Of course, these should last quite a while. This thing, like I said, has only got 1,300 miles on it. So now we can take our pile of grease rags, get rid of those. Check these weights out. Quite a bit different, as you can see. Honestly, I can't tell the difference in the weight. I have to put them on a scale. A couple grams don't make too much of a difference there. These are what I normally see in Yamahas. Alright, so now we're going to need our Yamaha Lube Ultramatic Grease. That's what this stuff originally looks like. And I like to just throw a little bit in each spot where the weight's going to go. Normally on these I'd throw some in the center there. Doesn't take a whole lot. It's good for that. Go ahead and throw those weights in. Just go throw a little bit on the top of that. Now a little grease where the slides are gonna ride. I know if you're not used to a greased Yamaha clutch, you'll be like, this will probably seem weird because why would you grease a clutch? You know, it's gonna get all over the belt and then you won't be able to go anywhere. Well, these are designed to stay in that cage. Surprisingly, they do. Unless you get a lot of water in here. That's the only problem with this design, is if you do get water in it, it'll mix with the grease and go outside, and then it's going to be a mess. You'll have to replace your belt, clean everything up real good. That looks pretty good there. So I'm going to go ahead and put these back on here. Make sure they go on the right way. There's the longer end on the bottom. Now I try to clean as much old grease as I can off there, but obviously you don't have to get it perfect because it's going back in grease, but get it as good as you can, I would say. Just throw a little bit there. Said probably doesn't matter. I like putting them on how they came off, just like so. Now one thing you want to do is clean the outside. Once you get this all together, clean the outside up very well, because you don't want that grease on the outside of the clutch. It is a little bit time-consuming process. If maintained, these clutches last a very long time. Go ahead, put the big O-ring on. Now if you clean that up and it's dry, you're going to want to take a little grease. This one's still a little wet, so it should slide right on. And I took it off just like so. Yep. Just gently slide it down, but be careful because we don't want to roll our O-ring. But we do want to make sure that our threads are lined up. So you can start one or two or whatever you feel is necessary. I may end up ordering the whole Weller modified clutch sheave in the future. We'll see. We'll see how this works out. This is definitely a little bit cheaper way to go. However, still not cheap. Those weights are like 115 bucks, I think, for the Weller ones. There we go. I did just put a little grease. My hands are a little greasy. They get on the back of that sheave. We're going to want to clean that up real good. Brake cleaner. All right. And just zip these back on. Okay. Now we don't want to get any brake clean inside of here, but whole outside we can clean. But you do have a seal, so you don't want to get any brake cleaner on that. This is also grease, this big pin here. So I'm going to clean off all the old grease inside. You can see that's still good, its original color in there, so it doesn't take as much of a beating as stuff inside the primary. Add a little grease in there. That go back in. And then some in here. This grease is expensive, but it goes quite a ways. I've had this for a long time. Now I do quite a few Yamahas, however, not a lot of people like to service these clutches. They like to wait until there's a problem, and it's usually when the stuff turns to cement that they have problems. I get it. It costs money to have these serviced, so just gonna go ahead and roughen this surface up a little bit. Actually getting some pitting in there. This clutch, I'm not very impressed with how it looks with those pits. I don't know if those were there from the factory or what, but this thing's a 2021. So it's only like 3 years old. I'm guessing that's probably a defect from the manufacturer. Could be wrong though. Everything's clean. I'm gonna go wash my hands real good before I touch any of that clutch because I'm gonna have to touch the outer sheave and stuff to put it on. So you can do this before you take the clutch off, or I'm gonna do it now. We're just gonna thread in one of those bolts from the clutch. And that's gonna spread this so this belt is more expanded. We have an easier time putting the clutch on. As we wind this in, the clutch is expanding. You do not want to wind this in any further than you have to, so if you start getting any resistance at all, stop. Just stop. Yep, right there. Alright, so I'm going to remove this belt because I want to check what kind of condition it's in. Belt physically looks good. I'm going to go measure it, make sure she's good, but I don't think there's going to be any issues with that. Pull the inner clutch sheave off. Pretty good shape. The outside here has very little wear. You can't feel anything. There's a little ring around there, but you can't feel it. Inside here, starting to get a groove. Not much though, but it's starting. What happens is when you ride in one spot for too long, like the CVT, so you're just holding it barely any throttle, and this is barely engaging. That's where it's going to start wearing. Same thing, you're doing 30 miles an hour, it's going to start wearing wherever that meets. If you were full throttle all the time, where this is engaged all the way out, it would be wearing the very outside. Just the way the CVTs are designed. They're designed to be variable all the time, not hold steady RPM. They will, they can. We all do it, but one of their flaws for sure. Back on you go. Arrows pointing towards the back of the machine because that's the way the engine rotates. Clutch can be installed back on. We'll get our holder, torque it down. Made sure to grease our bearing in there. Now we're going to throw this back on. tighten these down. Now before I throw that clutch cover back on, we're going to fire it up, make sure everything's working properly. You do not want to start this without this outer cover on, because it'll be hard on the bearing in there, and this is made for support, so definitely wait until you get this on to fire it up. Seems to be working fine. I got a lot of dirt in here right now, so I don't want to stir it up. So I'm just going to throw it back together. Right on you go. Never can trust stuff from the factory. Alright, seatbelt can go back on. Went ahead and do an oil change while I'm at it here. Dump 1.5 quarts into the top of the engine. Then we'll fill the sump. Not fill it, but it says to put 2 quarts into the sump. 1.5. This takes like 4.5 quarts altogether, I believe. Now we're just going to throw everything back together and try her out. Alright, we're back in the RMAX, all put together. Let's see how she goes. Here we get the decimal meter. So we're going to see how the RPMs change throughout the speed. Also, did it hurt performance? Because I don't want to take a big hit in performance, obviously, but maybe sport mode will be more usable. Either way, let's give her a whirl. Alright, so there's about 30. We're doing like 51, 50. So we definitely dropped some RPMs. I forgot what I said. We'll see what it is at 40 miles an hour. See if it made much of a difference. Alright, 44. Still over 100. We're at 5,800 RPMs. We were at 6450 the last time, so it did significantly cut down our RPMs by about 600, I think. 600 RPMs or so. So it was still pretty loud, but it seems more manageable, that's for sure. So now we're going to check performance, make sure we still got plenty of power. Honestly, it takes off good still. So I'm in trail mode. If I throw that to sport, very aggressive. So I don't use sport a lot. Obviously, if you want to show off, you can. We'll just go over here, make sure we're still getting those 9,300 RPMs that I got before. Boy, it almost seems like it hit another gear when we got further up into the RPR, further up into the speed. A little strange, but I wasn't paying attention to the GPS speed. I hit 69 on my top speed run before. We'll go back and see what I get. Same spot. I saw on there was like 65. It almost seems like it gets there a little quicker now, and it seemed like it was revved out sooner. I thought we hit like 9,200 RPMs there, but you guys would probably see better than me. I'm gonna go to here and see. Yeah, we're still max speed. 69 is what I hit last time on the GPS. And I don't remember what it was on here. That's the Weller Racing 23 gram weights. To me, it does seem better. I think I like it better. Is it a huge difference? No, but it is a slight difference for the better. Next thing to do is insulate this whole console. I got some kill mat sound deadening insulation coming, so we're gonna try that next. By the way, thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one. Looks like we got a brute force that just got dropped off, so that'll be on the chopping block soon.